Thanks for tuning in to episode 6 of Love, Success, and Real Shit. Miss Sobi in the building. Miss Sobi Kazi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It was thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been pretty excited. I've been kind of eyeing you to come on the podcast since like when I first started thinking about doing this.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I was just like, she's gonna be a really good guest.
Awesome.
Yeah, how is everything with you?
It's kind of how it is for everybody. We're all just kind of going through this whole pandemic phase and trying to live through it. So just rolling with the punches, so to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I was doing. I know you're an event planner, or actually a wedding planner, to be a little bit more niche, and then you also do real estate now, right?
I do.
You've been doing that for a while.
Yeah, about 5 years.
Okay, which one do you like better?
I don't know. I can't say which one I like better, but of course I started off with loving, wedding and event planning. So that's like my first passion. And I kind of really trickled into the real estate side of the industry in 2015. So I've been really, enjoying that as well. And it's a whole different side of, the business aspect, but it all kind of relates to what I do because it's tied in to taking my clients from the wedding and event industry and helping them find their first home. So that was
perfect, huh?
Yeah, that was the idea behind it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you had this whole thing planned out.
I wouldn't say it, I stumbled upon it, the idea. So I think that I heard, a couple of times a lot of my couples talking about house hunting and just some of the stress that it came along with and just, financial things, and which played a role in their wedding budget too, or how they wanted to start their new chapter in life. So just kind of, had that idea, and I was like, how do you, go about that? Mm-hmm. And I asked my brother about a real estate license. I was like, how does that work? And he's like, I think you'd be good at that. You should just go get licensed. And I had this one summer where I had no events or weddings, and I just ended up signing up for the real estate license classes and then just spent the summer, kind of figuring out the real estate side of the business. And I think that's where I started growing the idea of how I wanted it to merge. And once I started, that's when I kind of rebranded as well for the wedding planning company. I changed the name, and I sort of started basically marketing or, pursuing that idea of both.
Well, look at that, guys. You see, that's how you do business. You come, you do the whole wedding stuff, and then you are like, hey, here's a referral to my sister company, and this is exactly what I do too, so I can make your dream wedding, and then I can transition to your dream house.
Yeah.
You should do a honeymoon in between too, kind of, planning that out.
I think I'll stay out of that.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a whole bunch.
I know.
That's pretty interesting. I think, Houston is a good place to do that, of course. And I'm sure you probably took that into consideration, right? Where Houston's a legitimate spot to go ahead and do real estate. So it kind of just works out. But now I know the pandemic has hit, so everyone's kind of suffering in their own way. So all have to be a little bit more creative. So, the wedding business, I'm assuming, is down probably 100% right now.
Well, in 2020, it absolutely was, crushed, at least for my business. And slowly it started picking up in like the summer where, a few couples had hopes that maybe their fall and winter weddings would work out. So I did start getting inquiries for that, but they were micro weddings, which were like, less than 100 guests, not a lot happening, maybe in the backyard or a small venue, now reduced. So I wasn't really interested in doing something at that scale. I just felt that the way that I provide my services and my uniqueness to how I help couples plan wedding, it's more on a bigger production level, and that's what I enjoyed. So it all has to, it's not just a business transaction for me, right? So I have to love what I'm doing. So if I didn't find it to be a good fit, I just kind of, decided not to pursue that or go with the inquiry. But it's picking up again this year for 2021. A lot of my weddings from 2020 We're postponed. So I have those weddings this year, and then I have new ones that are coming up. So I do take limited clients based on schedule and what, how much I feel I can handle. Especially pursuing both, I'm very careful about it. So I take clients just, really based on how much my schedule allows, and, take it from there. But I'm glad things are changing. I think the wedding business, it's probably at the 75 to 100 capacity, but after the elections, everyone's worried with the new rules or what the
Right.
restrictions would be. So I don't think it was too bad. So right now, maybe we're not having like big concerts and the
Big
bigger,
weddings. All right.
yeah, the bigger weddings as well. But I think that they're slowly coming back and it should pick up.
Speaking of weddings, I don't know how much truth there is to this, but if I was to guess, based off of our first meeting, I feel like you take on clients that are, I guess, a little bit more looking for, just like you said, a bigger production or a big type of wedding. And I'm glad you do that, because I think when it comes to your work, I think you really got to see where you can really blossom. And I feel like, when we do video production, we started off small, but now, there's a border that, not necessarily that I don't want to go under, but I just know that I can excel in my work and come at its best when I expect these type of clients.
Right.
So, what was that kind of the journey for you too? How'd you end up being like, okay, this is the type of clients I want, and this is where my work's going to really show?
Yeah, so obviously I knew what part of, the wedding planning I really loved. So I feel like I'm the type of person that does not want to offer services in a shortcut manner or customize it to where it, doesn't really, like it doesn't like it jeopardizes kind of the end production or result to the event. So for me, I have some like hardcore rules that I know that I'm not going to change, whether it's just pricing or it's like, changing up my packages. So I think that as I started off, it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what works best for me in my planning process. It's how I can deliver it, right? And if I wasn't enjoying the way I was delivering my services, then I feel like I was not really doing a service, doing like a disservice to my clients. So I knew I wanted to be more on the high scale luxury events. I have a niche for the South Asian wedding market. So, those are multiple days, and multiple days and events
Oh
mean more
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So I kind of, again, with the trial and error, came to learn about what clients needed, but also what they liked me for. And I feel that I really enjoy the design part of the wedding planning as well. So, with what I had to offer and how I stood out differently, that's how I basically went about putting together my packages, but also my pricing being to where I felt it was worth taking on that client with the time and effort you put, behind it.
Absolutely.
So and that's what really matters. It's, where you start taking out certain services, but then the wedding day ends up, just being shit. It's like you're not proud of it at the end of the day, and your clients aren't happy. And so it's really a result of two people, the business side and your clients that you have to satisfy. And that's how
Right.
your reputation is built, right?
Hundred
So,
percent, 100%, and I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you had a lot of success stories for you to be able to feel confident in that stage, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny though, because I think people just say, if you're an artist, you want to, that's where you're gonna be a good painter, or even a videographer or photographer. But for you to put that, at that grand scale, everything together, design, whether it's production, what's involved, just everything A to Z.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision for it? Are you a visual person?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you have that.
Yeah. And I also paint that picture for my clients. So when they come to me and they're saying, oh, I'm not really sure what I want, or I think I have an idea, that's what I'm also helping them through, is painting that picture for them, giving them a vision, telling them what's, trendy, what's happening now, and what's, something unique that they can bring to their wedding. Because nowadays, or it's been for a while, no one wants to a cookie cutter type of
Yeah.
wedding,
Oh
and
yeah.
they want to always beat a friend or a family's wedding in that manner. So it's all about elevating that
Sure.
planning process, and that's what I focus on. So if I've done their previous family or friend's wedding, then it's like got to turn it up a notch or bring something new to the table. So that creativity and the thought process that goes behind that, I feel like that is what my clients appreciate about me.
How do you get to that creative edge of yours? I think it's different from everybody, but if you notice, if you followed, I don't know how long we've been social media friends for, but I used to do a lot of comedy videos and just, I'm bringing that back pretty soon. I keep saying that and
Nice.
it's going to happen. So, that's, I like doing short films,
Yeah.
whatever type of movies, but I notice whenever I'm doing like short films or anything of that sort, it's when I'm sometimes at the gym with music on and or that song playing and I just come up with an idea. I feel like that's my most creative like, time. So what is it for you? Is it kind of, do you have to meditate? Like how do you get to that point where you're like, wow, this is what I'm going to pitch to this client?
I seek inspiration from really anywhere. It could be just like you said, your daily routine, and you see something, or whether it's social media or just in person, you just kind of pull ideas from that, and that's how I try to basically like manipulate it to where it could maybe possibly work for a wedding setting or an event setting. So the creativity is always, I think for anyone in the artist industry or that creative mind, it's always ongoing. You're really seeking it from anywhere. And sometimes you just really are sleeping and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think
Hmm.
about that. So it's just like, I think it's just how your mind works. And if you're constantly thinking about evolving and thinking of different things, it just kind of comes to you sometimes, or you just pull from an inspiration.
Do you have like a meditation affirmation, any type of process that you follow every day?
I do, and it's been a recent practice that I've put into play in my life. I would say it's been 3 years, and I try to do it on a daily manner at least once, if not twice. So I do kind of like an AM, like as I wake up, and then I do a PM before I go to bed. Um, and it's just making sure that I recognize all the things that I'm grateful for and kind of give that affirmation and write down things that I am grateful for. And that's kind of like a little journal that I do. So I start off by those things where I work on the journal, write down my affirmations, and then write down what I'm also grateful for. And when it comes to meditation, I'm a little bit weaker on that. I am still practicing that, but I think that whenever I do have time in the morning or before going to bed, I'll do like 10 to 15 minutes. So that's something I could improve on. But I think it's so important. It really puts you in a really calm mindset, and it just allows you to think about everything and kind of silent that noise out of the everyday life, that you keep
So
thinking
were you like a
about.
crazy person before that?
I think I'm a much calmer person now because of that. I think that it helps you to not quickly react. So I wouldn't label myself crazy, but I don't know how many people do.
Dealing with all them brown people, I'm sure you probably need to meditate as
All
much as you can.
right.
That's funny. So for the audience listening, I think our first meeting was pretty unique.
Yeah.
It was pretty hilarious when you think about it now.
Right.
So just for everyone listening, just to kind of little get a background, I think it's the funniest story. So I actually run a photo booth business, and Sobi, of course, she's doing her thing, doing wedding planning, and the people that she was wedding planning for are some of my closest friends. So they're trying to help me out by I was going to do like a little marketing video there, and Sobi, she is strict and knows what she wants, and she's not going to listen to anyone's aunt, uncle, cousin, mom, anything, and she's going to go with what exactly the bride and the groom want, which I respect. So it was Sobi was like, we can't do that, you can't record it, and I was just like, man, okay, so let me go and talk to them. So I went and talked to them. They kind of talked to Sobi, and then I guess it was something that we were both okay with at the end of the day. Although I think that's why probably your clients love you so much and have so much good things to say about you, is because you don't listen to anybody else. And when it comes to weddings, you know, the everyone has something to say, right?
They have an
Especially
opinion.
with brown people. Like they're like, no, let's do it that way, this way, this way,
Yeah.
without the presence of the groom and the bride, and then things turn and you get the blame for it. So I think you're really strict with that, and I think a lot of people they can't understand that. They
Right,
can't
right.
swallow that. So that's why you probably come out as, oh my god, I can't deal with her, and of course we heard that news or whatnot, and she's always did this one set her way. She's not gonna listen to anybody. This and that. But I knew, right? So at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Regardless of how she is, I know why she's doing it, and I have respect for that because I run a business myself, and it might not be as strict as that, but I also come around with people saying this way when I'm working with multiple owners, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. So I forgave her.
Oh, whatever.
I said, okay, fine, I forgive you. It's okay. But surprisingly, I think a few months later, you kind of started reaching out and started giving some business for the photo booth, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she's not too bad.
I guess I like
So,
her.
so it's pretty funny, and I
Yeah.
like that.
That was funny. I think that, there's going to be so many different ways that people will perceive you, especially when you're in the setting of your, it's like go time during the wedding. And the way I look at it, I don't have time to explain myself to everyone who feels like they have an opinion, It's not their day, it's the bride and groom day,
Yep.
and they hired me to do a job. I know exactly what they want because we've worked, almost, a year or 6 months on an average with them. So, it's something that I feel very strong about in my execution of the event to be, the way they envision it, and that's what I'm there for.
Do you learn that the hard way?
But um, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of my personality. I think that I always kind of, when I think about myself, I'm like, you know what? That's just how I am. I don't like anyone taking advantage of a situation or feeling like they have an opinion when they're just a family member or extended guest. And there's so many stories. We're not even going to go there. But it's very important for me to come off very respectful to families and guests. And so that's not like always my first impression to come off very strong. But I think like between what happened with you and I is that I wasn't aware of the agreement you had between the couple and yourself. And I think if that was
Agreement.
if that was
Look at the little
translated to me,
professional agreement.
yeah, if that was translated to me, then it wouldn't have been a problem. But to see your marketing crew come through to an event that is not their place in my mind,
Right.
then I'm gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah, my
And
videographer came. Was like, she won't let me do this. I was like, who is this girl?
But it's also the respect that I also give my vendors,
Right.
and it's because, their contract states that, they're exclusive vendors, and I don't want, someone to just trickle in and be like, oh, I'm just going to videotape this for my own marketing purposes. So I like to be very professional, and I'm very business minded to where I feel like it should be done all fairly, and no one should be just going around and trying to sneak their way through things. So again, we didn't know each other at all. That's how we met. And after, of course you told me that story, I thought it was hilarious because yeah, sometimes, people could probably think that I come off bitchy or
Right.
like too strict, but I have a job to do and that's what I'm there for, not to
100%.
celebrate.
Do you ever get like, you should maybe get all the family members together and just kind of let them know what you are, what you do, and you're only gonna listen to these two people?
No, I do that most of the time. It just depends also on how much the couple's let in to that circle. Now, mind you, like there would be uncles that feel like they're like a father
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
to the groom, and it's fine, but you're not the immediate family. And so in the South Asian culture, I feel like immediate family is really extended family that has like 30 people or so in it, you know? When immediate family is really your parents and
Yep.
your siblings. That's it. That's what immediate family is in my definition.
True.
So when I do have meetings with families, that's where it is on both sides. And if there is anyone that's playing, you know, obviously a different role or an important role with me, then I'll make sure I'm aware of it, and then we connect ahead of time to be like, okay, hey, you're gonna help me with this part. I just wanna, you know, introduce myself, and then, you know, it works out just fine. It's all about open communication at the end of the day, and don't forget to tell your planner stuff, because new news on the day of does not help anybody.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely a mess.
Yeah.
So that, you know, you knowing what they want and you executing, you know, in the most professional manner, comes off, you know, kind of wrong to a lot of people. But that personality that you have, is that only in business or is that you in life?
It all depends on the situation. But I think it's mostly in my business. I think I'm a little bit more laid back in just real life and with people I know and I'm comfortable with, right, in your own setting. So, but I do have that personality where I am very strong minded and I have an opinion, and I'm a Scorpio at the end of the day. So, you know, just go through that list of personalities and I'm pretty close to those.
Oh man.
So yeah, I think and I think that's why I'm good at being an event planner or a wedding planner, is because I'm very organized. I'm very OCD about things. I like things in order, and I think that's how it reflects in my performance. And if my clients like my performance, then they were the only people I really needed to please. And I have gotten so many, you know, referrals or couples that have went to a client's wedding, and then they'll inquire saying, oh, I really liked you at this wedding, and I was watching you and you were working and doing your thing, and I think that, you know, I'm interested or whatever. And so it's a compliment at the end of the day, and I wouldn't change it because that's just how I function and I want to keep it that way. But of course I want to be nice to everyone, but if anyone steps on me the wrong way, or, you know, if they belittle you or anything, thinking
Right.
that you're nobody in that presence, then they'll probably get a piece of my mind, you know.
100%. Hey, as they should. Right. So I think, you know, you doing this whole event plan or wedding, I keep saying event
You
planning.
can say both, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I get confused. So with the wedding planning and the real estate that you're doing, but this wasn't your plan A. I think you, from what you had told me, you actually went to school to be in somewhere in the medical business, the medical industry.
Yeah, actually I went through high school and college not knowing what I wanted to do, what I wanted to become. That was like the $1 million question for my family. You know, they're like, what are you going to do with your life? And I think it was because I didn't like anything that was very normal, sort of say, you know, becoming a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, like the more prestigious titles. That's not what was my interest. And there was already like this development of loving weddings and event planning in high school, but it didn't, at least, you know, back in that day, that time, it was like a hobby. It's like that, you can't make that into a career. You know,
Yep.
that's what I was told. And I believed it because, you know, you rely on your family and your elders to kind of guide you. And I went through college. I liked science. So I went, you know, I did biology. So I just went with what I was good at, sort of say. And I graduated with my bachelor's in biology. And I was like, you know, I can do really anything, you know, go to nursing school with it, do pre-med and get into maybe the doctorate field, but that just wasn't me, you know? And so I spent a lot of my college years wondering what I was going to do. After college, I did work in the medical field for like about 1.5 to 2 years before I really just, you know, dropped it, and I just took a leap of faith and started my own business, you know? And I really did it blindly and just on my own with whatever research I could do online, you know, how to become a wedding planner, how to start
All
a
on your
wedding
own.
planning business. Yeah, all on my own, because there wasn't like a true, you know, support from the family in a sense of like, oh, you're picking a great, you know, field of career. They were very doubtful on what I was up to. And I think that if I remember correctly, my dad just thought it would be a phase. So he was like telling my mom, like, let her do what she wants. It's fine. Like, she'll figure it out. They expected me to fail and, just grow up and do something more valuable, sort of thing.
Right.
And, but, hey, of course, that was history. It all worked out. And I created that for a bit, for myself as a business. And, I feel like I did really good in it, earning wise and whatnot. So it was a stable career for me, and I worked it and I've made it work.
Nice, nice. So, still talking about a little bit of the background. Your household, I think your dad was a business owner.
Yes, he's a business owner. We have a construction business for commercial.
Okay, and your mom was
Housewife.
okay.
Yeah.
So, was there a difference with I know your dad allowed it, but were they both trying to make sure Sobi was taking the more safe route?
Yeah, of course. My mom still, as of today, is like, just throwing me those like punchlines, and she'll be like, "Hey, if you ever want to go back to school, we'll definitely support it, and pay for the the college or whatever the fees are for school." And I'm like, I'm never going back to school. That's like the last thing I would do. Some people are they're made for school and they can study and it's good for them. I think that I'm not. My mind is so much more creative, and I feel like I am more of a people person. So that business, instinct is what I feel like I'm made for. That's just, it's meant for me.
So people person, just kind of, I'm just interested because I claim to be a people person as well, but I'm a mix of an extrovert and introvert. Like
Yeah.
I love to go to places that are, popping, enjoying a lot of, I like intimate settings too, but more joyous occasions and stuff of that sort. But after a certain, like maybe 5-6 days, I need time by myself.
Yeah.
So are you kind of the same way?
I'm definitely the same way. I feel that when it comes to, my business, I love interacting with new people, meeting new people, and, networking, as they call it. I enjoy that. And especially, obviously, pre-COVID, there were so many events that were happening and the opportunities. And I definitely enjoyed going, to them and meeting new people, just to make a connection. It didn't have to turn into anything, with business, but it was always nice to, also meet other business owners and learn from them. So I think that's why I also enjoyed it so much. But there's a part of me that I like to shut down too, because I'm putting so much time and effort into like my work that I like my alone time. I like my quiet time. And, there'll be like weeks that I'm just like hanging out at home and I really don't want to be out and be social. So it's very 50-50. But, I think that if I had a choice, then I guess I have a smaller circle. So when it comes to really making friends, I am very careful on who I let in. And so that trust factor, you can sort of say, plays a role.
That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So back to your mom situation. This was just a question that I wanted because I also try to find mental tricks and whatever I can. So I want to cheat some, whatever I can grab out of you.
Okay.
But with your mom, so she is still kind of throwing in those sneaky attacks at you to kind of go back to school or whatnot. So really, because I know a lot of people can relate to this, especially Asian females. Why is it, do you think, even after you found success and you're doing your thing and it's growing, are they not satisfied?
I think society plays such a big role. They care so much about what the outside bubble thinks. And I think it's just a very traditional old mindset. And it's something that some parents just can't get out of and evolve. And my parents feel that, it's more stable career to be in maybe something more corporate or maybe, something that has that more of a value that, there's always going to be jobs for doctors. There's always going to be a need for lawyers and engineers or whatever. And I think that with this time and age, there's so many people opening different types of businesses up that, I think it like parents probably understand and like accept it now. But to be, kind of in that time of era where, you know, they're still skeptical and they feel like maybe that I deserve better. And the way I hustle is like, oh, she's working too hard, you know, like you're wearing yourself out. Like you didn't
Yeah.
have to take this path. It would have been easier if you did this. But I think it's hard for them to understand that I love the hustle. Like I love going to work. I love, you know, putting my time into that. I mean, that's all I think about is work, but it's not like because, you know, because it's like money related. It's because that's my passion and I enjoy it. And so I'm satisfied when I'm able to do what I love. And that's how I feel like my world turns.
Yeah.
And I don't think parents understand that. And I think that they feel that also there's a little part of them where I think, you know, again, it goes into the South Asian culture. They see women, especially in my age, being in my late 30s, where they should be married and have a family and have that stability there. I think my dad would love it if I was a housewife maybe with kids, you know, just kind of like the easy life, like, oh, you know, have a man just take care of you. And I was never about that. You know, I like my self identity and, you know, I never plan to lean on, you know, a spouse or a man figure. But I always want to continue growing. And so I think you know, the way they look at it is, you know, a man should take care of you and help you through that. And I think the hard work that I do, they feel like, you know, I could just take the
So,
cheap way out.
all right, but your mom doesn't see that your dad's in the business too, and he's relying on that. Isn't that some type of sense of relief?
But again, he's the man of the house, so he can do that, right?
True. So it's not. It doesn't really.
So, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, as times evolve, and, you know, my mom understands that, of course, a lot of women are career oriented. But I don't know. I'm not convinced if that's something that she still feels that she would want her daughter to be categorized under. I think she would probably prefer that I'm married, have children, and maybe with or without a job, but at least I'm married with children. So
Right.
that kind of also plays a role. But I think as time goes by, and I think the way that I sort of rebelled and did my own thing, I feel that they know that I always follow my heart and I always just pursue what I want. And so they're kind of now going with the punches and they're like, okay, let's see what she's up to next.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, what is she going to say or do? So, yeah.
So the rebellious phase and the phase that you do what you want to do, is that how you were always growing up? Because I know you were doing biology first. So was there ever okay, I'm gonna do a normal job, normal house, you know, or
Yeah, I think that I was painted that picture that was the pattern and the way to go about it, right? You know, you go to college, you get your piece of paper, the degree, and you get married and have kids, right? Like that's kind of the pattern. And then yeah, sure, the last thing would be if you're working, you're working. If not, whatever. But my rebellious phase was to go against all of that. That I put myself as a priority and my career, you know, because I do believe that what I followed was my dream career. And it was not normal at that time. It was very new and kind of, I think I also have friends that kind of looked at it in a way, oh, is she going to make it or not? Or is this really, you know, a job or a hobby? And so you have like, you know, those doubters and haters. And then you have some that really love and support you no matter what you're kind of coming up with. So I think that a lot of things led to my decision of, you know, being kind of just doing what I wanted to do. That turning point that happened was kind of like a rebirth for me, you know. Got out of a long-term relationship and, you know, told my family that I was going to start my own business. So that's kind of like the rebellious phase. Like I wasn't doing anything for others. It was time for me to start doing things for myself. And I think that was a new thing. And it was not very something, you know, different. Like it was different that, you know, a lot of girls weren't doing it at that time. So, you know, starting a business was a really big eye opener for people around me.
it's always these relationships.
These relationships?
There's always these relationships that
I know, right? There's always a story that messes you up. Just kidding. I had let's say a college sweetheart sort of say, and the next step automatically that you're trained to think is that it's marriage, you know? And so you go with it. until something hits you and you're like, I don't want this, So I feel like that's kind of what happened a little bit, is that I felt like, okay, I've been with this person for 4 or 5 years and I need to basically get married after college, and that's what I need to do. But you just have this feeling that you're not satisfied, right? And there's something missing. And he was a great guy, and there was no complaints in that sense. But our relationship was not the same anymore after all those years, because I had a different outlook in life, and he wanted something else. So that's where our differentiations happened, and I feel like I didn't want to hold someone back or live a life that I didn't envision for myself. So that's where I had after getting married, I had the divorce very quickly because I realized I didn't want to drag it on. So I had a very short marriage, and so the divorce was very eye-opening and a shock to the families and the society of the world that I live in. And so that was like the biggest challenge in that growth phase for me. But it's going through all of that made me stronger, and I really kind of fought for myself and for what I wanted. And I think that I am who I am today because those things changed for me. And like, I don't regret it a bit. I'm happy where I am. And some people, that my family or friends, they're just like, oh, you really lost out on a good guy, or things were going so great. What happened? But people don't understand that something tragic doesn't have to happen for a relationship to end, right? It's just that if people drift apart and they have different views in the long term, then they should not be together. That's how I look at it. So, and I was young, it's like you're in your early 20s. And now the only advice I give my cousins is like, do not get married in your 20s. Like, live your life and explore. Yeah. And, it's okay if you're dating or have a long-term relationship, but find out who you are and see if that person is a good fit for you and your lifestyle. Cause it's your 20s. It's like so much is changing. You're, growing up phase, that I call it.
Yeah. I think,
So,
everything that you said it happens so much in our society, and it's like, no one wants to talk about it,
Oh yeah. It was such a big deal at that time. This was like back in 2008. And it was, especially like, in my little bubble of community, it was very like, was not happening. It was not often that you heard someone getting divorced, especially in my storyline, because it was a love marriage. It was like an arrangement. Like, we dated and we, went with it, but it's like, nobody wants to talk about it because I think they're obviously afraid of the way people will perceive them and judge them. And for me, I didn't really care because I felt relief getting out of it, really. So for me, the only challenge or where I was hurt was watching my family being hurt by it. And that was like the hardest thing for me to see. And I didn't want that obviously for them, but it's something new, and that the society kind of makes you feel like shit. And people coming up to my mom saying, oh, I heard your daughter got divorced, or this happened or that happened. And it's like, people love getting into your business for the wrong reasons. And so that would translate into how they would go about kind of getting over what had just happened. So it took a while. I would say it took at least 2 years just for me to get out of that rut, while starting a new business and making it on my own. And it was challenging, but that's what made me stronger. I feel like I discovered myself, and that part is something that I cannot take away, or I would be someone completely different, someone who probably is still very quiet and maybe very naive. Like, I actually really put myself out there in the world because I feel like I grew up sheltered. So, after that, it was like, I'm just going to make friends with people. I'm going to live life. And that's kind of why I feel like I'm glad I did it, because I'm happy with the way my life turned out. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So was before you decided to do the wedding planning, was it, was the divorce, was it before or after the divorce that you had jumped into that?
It was all kind of happening at the same time.
Okay.
So I
So
knew that I was going to pursue my business. And so I had like started,
kind of already doing it.
yeah, like, you kind of register for the name, you get your website going, like all those like basic things. I
Yeah.
was literally starting to do that
Okay.
post marriage.
And
And
how'd you have that going through that, being a female in an Asian family, knowing what backlash that you're gonna, face, and then also being kind of confused in what career that you wanted at that point, or if you were even certain that you wanted to do it. How did you manage to really, come out as a new person and face all those obstacles that you could, and how'd you like that mindset, how'd you change, what was your mindset like, what kind of motivated you to keep going, what was it like during that time?
so I knew that I was going to definitely pursue being a business owner and start my business. I knew that before the marriage. And I think that afterwards, I feel like that's all I had, to really keep me happy and going. And so I put so much focus into that part of my life, my business, that it helped me just
Not think about it.
not concentrate so much on that. But you do come home and then you are still in that rut, because that's just what the way the ambiance and environment is. But I think that since I knew, like, and that's why I call it like a rebirth moment for me, was because I knew I just didn't want to be that Sobi. I needed to be the new Sobi that I discovered. And following my dreams and being told I couldn't do something, or that's not the way it's usually done, or a girl doesn't do it this way or that way, all of that, it was like I shut it all out in my head. And I just wanted to live for myself. So, and sometimes it's perceived as, oh, she's being selfish, or she's only thinking about herself and not her family. But I feel like, at what point then does a person in life start thinking about themselves? Like, then what is that right age? Because you grow up at a certain point and parents have to let you go. They need to then let you be you and stop kind of molding you a certain way or to how they imagine it. And I just just kind of went with it. And they were definitely dark and hard days, but I just coming out of it and knowing that every time it was improving or getting better for me, it made it easier to know that there was like a finish line, right? Like a light at the end of the tunnel sort of feeling. And I had really great supportive friends and people in my life that helped me keep going. And I think that's why I also have a small circle, because I lost a lot of friends because of my divorce. Wow. And people kind of look at you like, oh, because I initiated the divorce. So, they feel bad for the other person. And then so they start picking sides, and no one picked my side, because they were like, how could you do that to him? Or, what made you feel like you have to leave a marriage to pursue what you want? But there's all these other things, involved in it. And so I knew what was best for me, and I'm very black and white. Either I like something or I don't.
Right.
And once I make up my mind, I always pursue it and I go for it. And if it fails, it fails. I'll try something else. But that's something that I realized about myself, is that I always keep going and I keep evolving, and I try to find something that I'm going to, be happy with. And so that's how, that's what kind of motivates me every day, and I think one should always continue evolving than just being very much the same person.
And just kind of talking about marriage in general, I think we're hitting like our highest percentage of divorces.
Yeah.
I think it's over 50% now. And it's happening
more than that. Yeah,
probably more than that. Last time I checked was probably a year or two ago. But conservative families, it's happening all everywhere. So I think what you said, and I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that, is that when you are in marriage, okay, in the 20s, because people say 30s are the new 20s, 40s are new 30s.
Yeah.
There is a sense of truth in that, I feel like.
Yeah.
So when you're in your 20s, and especially Asian females, they have been sheltered for so many years, so they don't really know what their likes and dislikes are, what their personality is really like. Now I think things are getting a little bit better, right? But during the 20s, it's such a important phase. Like there's so many things you learn, so many experiences that you have. So
Exactly.
I'm starting to really believe the fact that I think 30s is a good age now, is because like all the fuck ups, everything is done in the 20s, and you can really find out what you like and don't like in
Mm-hmm.
your 30s, right? Because people like, man, more power to you if you get married early and you guys are in love or you guys are
Yeah.
compatible all the way through.
Right.
But I see so many people that get married and then they're getting divorced at 27, 28, 29 for various reasons, right? And I think the guy and the girl are both kind of immature and still kind of finding things, and the world is moving a lot faster now. So
Yeah.
what is like just tell me about, like, you talk to your cousins and stuff about it. So why is 20s not, like, in your eyes, a good age to kind of lock it down?
Well, most importantly, in your 20s, you have the experience of the college life, whether you get to, do something, go to somewhere locally, or you get to actually leave the state or city. The experience, that you gain from that, in a social manner, but also just, I guess it depends also if you go into college with the relationship or not. But it's like you get to also experience different things, especially when you're not in a relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
was in a relationship, and I know that I held back so much because of that relationship to do certain things because I knew the other person wouldn't like it,
Mm.
or maybe my parents would not approve of me joining a sorority or something like that, right? So it's like some watching then my younger cousins being able to experience that and enjoy life and figure out who they are and what type of friends they like and the things they like to do, just like hobbies or whatever. I feel like you're discovering yourself in your 20s, like literally all of it. And if you feel like that's the lifestyle for you, then you need to slow it down and allow that. I feel like parents also kind of give women like this biological clock. They make you feel like, oh, you should be married and have children, before your 30s because that's the best time to do it health wise. But I mean, of course, with technology and everything nowadays, you can be having children in your 40s and it's perfectly fine,
Yep.
and it's really all about, and people are even taking more cautious and being, good about their health. So a lot of people are working out more and, understanding that it's important. And so that helps, at least as a woman, to know if you have, if you do also regular checkups and all that, if you
Mm-hmm.
are good standing, and if that's really important for you, like, do you want to have kids or not, and where you want to take in life. But your 20s is the decade of discovery, and 30s is when you start, once you know what you really want, you start finding that right partner that
Now, you also
sort
don't want
of.
17 kids anymore.
Yeah, exactly. No one can afford the 17 kids
Yeah,
anymore.
you can't.
Yeah, this whole generation is so different, and now that women are very much, also working and pursuing their dreams and whatever else that they would like, that everything is different in the household. It's not just about a man, being the bread and butter, like being the winner there. And it's like the women can also be kind of pursuing their dreams and bringing money,
Sure, it takes less
right?
pressure off of
Some
us guys.
income,
So
right? Some
why?
people love it. But there's a little bit of that. And when you have two parents that are really career oriented and working, I mean, do you want to have a large family or not? So like there's so many questions to think about too. And I think you're more mature in your 30s than you are in your 20s. So I think that really helps when it comes to the rates of divorce, but
100%.
you also kind of are picking your partner thinking about a long-term stance than to be like, oh, I'm just in love and we're just going to go with it and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
I don't
Are
think
you
people have
still
the patience.
facing issues at like family events?
No, I don't really have one too many family events. And
Okay.
I mean, even like pre-COVID. And I think, like with my family dynamic and even my extended uncles and aunts, they kind of know how I am and the type of person I am, and I think that they know that I'm not just gonna settle just because I need to have a family or a spouse. It's really about being with a companion that you guys see eye to eye. It's really, that's what it's all about. It's not just about like having a family with that person, like me, as it I feel like it would have been in a different century, right? So I think there's so much more to relationships now than just to have a family together and go that path. So I think that my family doesn't push for it. They definitely have high hopes, but I'm also very particular about, what I want and who I want.
Oh, that's good. Because
Yeah.
normally, a lot of people still face like everything in the book, about why aren't you married yet? When are you gonna get married? When it might be the same exact uncle or aunt asking you every single time, like, dude, did we just talk about this 2 weeks ago? So
Yeah.
it's good that you got, your kind of family understands you a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
I probably got that much in my early, years, but I think I didn't really have to really deal with that question on a very normal basis anymore because I'm also very vocal about, well, this is what I want. Like, do you want me to get married again and be divorced or be in a situation that's unlikely that you want for me? So it's like you have to really think it through now. It's like really important.
it's kind of just, yeah, to kind of put everything in perspective. I
Yeah,
totally believe that.
exactly.
So, I think, overall, I think this has been a great session, a great podcast. I think we learned a lot of things, and I think this is going to provide a lot of value, a lot for listeners, especially Asian, or you don't even have to be Asian, but anyone, a lot of people got kind of go through this. So,
Yeah.
we are towards the end of our session, but I do want to give you a few minutes to kind of let the audience know what you do, what businesses or anything of that sort. So I'll let you take over.
Yeah. So from the podcast, obviously, I am a wedding planner and a real estate agent, and that's what I primarily focus on. And my job is really to extend that service and build that relationship with my clients to help them through the most expensive transactions of their life, right? Because weddings are expensive, buying home is expensive, especially your first one. So I really want to just be more of that knowledgeable person that is able to guide them throughout both of those process. So yeah, I hope to work with clients, whether for wedding planning or real estate, and hopefully I can definitely bring some value to that stage in life. And I really enjoy that a lot.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, this will be our sixth podcast. So,
Awesome.
I think a lot of people are going to gain some value from this. So I appreciate it once again, guys. All right, everybody, tuning off. Take care. Awesome.
All right, that's that. Here, let me clap
That went
that
by
one.
fast.